What up, everybody, and welcome to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades, and you can see in front of you, we have some blades. We've got an assortment of ESEE knives out here on the review table. ESEE knives. For those of you that are new to my channel, I'm an endorser of ESEE knives. Not that that means anything here nor there, not like an official endorsee or anything like that, because Baz on Blades is nobody from nowhere, just with a little YouTube channel. But what I mean is, if somebody asks me, I need a fixed blade knife for field use, what do you recommend? I always, if I feel that this is a person that can care for 1095 carbon steel, that's what I typically recommend. My go-to is an ESEE product because they're American made, they're reasonably priced, they have a no questions asked lifetime warranty. You can take one of these knives out, you can break it in half doing some stupid foolishness, and you can send it back to them and they're going to be like, you know what, here's another one. Here's another one to replace what you did with your stupid foolishness. And I very much love a company that truly, not just on paper, but truly stands behind their product. And that is a huge selling feature. Like I say, they're American made. They are reasonably priced. I mean, reasonably priced. Around $100 will get you into multiple different ESEE models, and they have a bunch of different models. What you see in front of you is what I have from my personal collection. We've got an SE3, we've got an SE4, a version in S35vn rather than the typical 1095 carbon. We've got an SE6, and we've got a full-size Hunglas. And that right there, guys, this little collection, collection of knives, would see Baz on Blades through any zombie apocalypse that you could reasonably consider living through, as long as I don't get my brains eaten. So this video, we're going to focus on the SE4 in S35vn. This is a new acquisition for Baz on Blades, and it's the first SE4 that I have owned. My 3, 6, and Hunglas have been in my collection for a little while. My 6, this is the second 6 that I have owned. I gifted my original 6 to a friend and then bought this one as a replacement. It is pretty much my go-to survival, quote-unquote, survival knife. Just the perfect size and stock thickness to go out in the field and actually be able to do some work without being so big that it's unwieldy or awkward. So we're going to not really focus on the SE4, doing a review of it so much as I've not taken this knife out and used it. And I say this is the first SE4 that I've ever owned, and I love this knife in hand, short of actually putting it through some field use. In hand, it may be Baz on Blades' favorite ESEE knife to date, taking that title away from the 6 maybe. What we've got in the SE4 is a 4-inch blade. It is a full-size, full-thickness blade stock. It is the 3/16 inch thick blade stock, the same as the 6. ESEE is an interesting company. They do some interesting things, in my opinion. You also see that we have the SE3 down here, and you may notice that the SE3 and the SE4 have different handles on them, but I'm going to tell you right now, they are the same exact handle. They come from the factory with the same type of handle on them, and that's something that we're going to focus on in this video. We're going to look at some options for handle scales for these ESEE knives. So the SE4. Let's take a look at the SE4 here. As I said, we've got 4 inches of cutting length on that. From the tip of the blade to the handle scale is about 4 5/8 inches overall length on this. With these extended scales on them, overall length is right at 9 inches. That is, for you metric guys, that's going to be about 10 centimeters of cutting edge, 11.5 centimeters of blade length to the handle scale, and an overall of right at 23 centimeters. Again, in 3/16 stock. Now, we're going to move this Unglass out of the way. We're going to move this 6 out of the way. And we're going to leave the 3 and the 4 out here. And we're going to have a little discussion on the 3 and 4. These knives are basically the same thing with a few slight but very noticeable, very important differences. Like I say, they both take the same handle scales, and I'm going to bring out the factory handle scales that came on my SE3. This is what is considered a compact handle scale. It's compact in length, and this is what you would be looking at as far as that goes. You can see the butt of the knife, the tang of the knife blade is exposed, and that is how that knife comes. It is also how the SE4 comes in certain versions. We've got sort of a mishmash here on the table, and please give me a minute to explain what's going on here. These handle scales came off of my SE3. The handle scales that are on the SE3 came off of my SE4, and the handle scales that are on the SE4 are actually from the knifeconnection.com. The knifeconnection.com is my go-to source for SE product, pretty much, period. I don't even look anywhere else for SE product. They generally have about the best prices, best availability, plus they've got a huge selection of aftermarket accessories, let's say, for SE products. That includes aftermarket handle scales, sheath components, sheaths. You can go to the Knife Connection. You can buy your SE in a blade only. You can pick out handle scales for it. You can pick multiple different sheath configurations, backers for the sheaths. You can customize your SE product. Now, when I got this S35vn stainless steel SE4, it came with these handle scales. These are 3D G10 scales that are sort of a gray and black layer, and then they are 3D machined. You can see they are wasted. They have a prominent palm swell, and they fit in your hand fabulously. They feel fantastic. In fact, I'm going to say they are an improvement for my hands, guys, not quality-wise, but for my hands. They are an improvement over the flat, very flat, factory micarta scales. And these scales are not bad, but on the SE3, I thought they felt a little too flat, and the reason is the SE3 is in 1/8 inch stock versus the 3/16 stock on the SE4. So the thinner stock with the thinner, flatter handle scales, it just felt a little thin and flat, a little blockish, a little square to my hands, even though these are fully radiused around the edge, as all SE handle scales are. They are very good handle scales. Please do not get this twisted. They're very good. 90% of people out there would leave these scales on and be very well served by them, but Baz on Blades is not part of the 90 percentile. I want to I don't really want to, I'm not building these knives out to be safe queens to be taken out and looked at, but when you get to a certain point in sort of your growth within the knife enthusiast thing, you start looking at, as you know, well, how does it present as well as it feels in the hand and how it's usable. And I wanted to sort of, buff up, per se, my knives a little bit, as well as increasing the hand feel and utilitarian aspect of those knives. So, what I did is this. I got this ESEE4 and S35vn. It is available in different configurations. The one that I chose had these 3D G10 compact scales on it. Now, when I got that in hand, the first thing I thought is, that doesn't feel right to me. This has the heavier blade stock thickness, much more weight to it than the 3 did, and the compact scales felt too small. Okay, these are TKC, the Knife Connection extended scales. They extend out, they make the handle longer by covering up the butt end fully. And I wanted more of a hand feeling, a longer length, a full size grip with the heavier weight and stock thickness of the 4. Now, lucky for Baz on Blades, the Knife Connection has a big assortment of aftermarket scales. Not only the compact scales in a 3-dimensional palm swell, but they've got the extended scales as well. So I purposefully chose an ESEE4 that had the 3D compact scales on it already. And I had a plan in mind, because the same time that I bought my 4, I also purchased these extended scales. So when it came in, what I did is I took the factory flat scales off of my 3. I took the factory 3D scales off of the 4. I put them on the 3. So instead of the sort of thinner and flatter feel that the factory scales gave the 3, I ended up with a fuller feeling handle. I think that these scales are pretty much the ultimate choice for an ESEE3. They make this knife feel more tool-like, more organic, and more it's just a better feel. It's a better hand feel. It's more ergonomic to me. It feels more like a full usable tool than it did with the flat scales. It gave it a much thinner, flatter, squarer sort of feel. So I took the 3D G10 scales off of the 4 and I put them on the 3. There you go. Now my 3 is finished. It has a fantastic hand feel, an enhanced grip in my opinion. Your results may vary, and it feels much more usable to me. So we'll take that 3 and we're going to set it out here. We're going to focus on the 4, which is what this video is about. Now, as I said, the ESEE4 is in the 3/16 blade stock like the ESEE6 is, okay? So you've got the same stock thickness here. I wanted a bigger, fuller, longer grip to balance out that weight over what the ESEE3 is. So I chose to go with the Knife Connections extended scales for the ESEE3, ESEE4. Again, these will fit on an ESEE3 or an SE4. I just don't feel like you really need the extended scales for the 3 since it is much lighter in weight because of that thinner stock thickness. I did feel like I wanted them on the 4. Now, there is multiple different choices as far as these scales go. The Knife Connection has probably 8 or 10 different choices in the G10 compact scales. And then they've got probably the same number of choices in the extended scales. Both are available. They've got multiple different G10 models where the 3 that I've got here has got the gray and black layer. They've got blue and black layer and green and black and brown and black. And then they've got camo layer with like 3 colors. And then they've got them ground on the bias 2x2 layering. And they've got all these different variations. They've got black with orange liners, or black with red liners, or black with blue liners. You should go over to the Knife Connection and check those handle scales out if you don't already know about them. The scales that I chose are a layering of micarta, 2 different types of micarta. These are layered in black canvas micarta and brown burlap micarta. They are very nice looking. They are very nice looking. They are very well made. These are CNC machine. They have a precise fit. They include all the hardware that you need to mount these. And when I say all the hardware, it's all the hardware, guys. Not only the screws, but also the different lengths of grommets that go in. The way these mount, of course, the blade blank has holes through it where the screws and grommets go through. The screws go into either side. They screw into a grommet. Since these replacement scales are machined with a 3-dimensional profile, what you've got is 3 different lengths of grommets. Short here at the butt end, you can see where it's wasted in. Longer here in the palm swell, and a medium length up on the bolster end. It took longer to take tools out to replace them than it did to actually replace them. And the reason is because you've got to have a tool for each side. You've got a free floating grommet in the middle that is threaded, interior threaded, and the screws go into each side of it. And basically all you do is, I started one side, then I slapped the scales on, slid the other side on, started the screws in. Once you get them snugged down by hand, then you can go in, just set it down, and you're going to go in on either side with an Allen wrench here, and then you're going to tighten them. And while you do that, you just sort of center them up along everything here, and you know what? And they fit perfectly. There was 0 issues with install at all, and I'm going to show you right now the difference in these scales. The handle on the 3 and 4 is the same thing. You can see here you've got the exposed butt end. On these TKC extended scales, that is machined overlapping at the butt end, and it covers that butt end, and it gives you this much extra on that handle, including this bird's beak. And that bird's beak is important to Baz on Blades because when you use a knife in a cutting motion, a sawing motion, a saw cutting motion, you need a nice finger choil in the front to trap your hand in. You want a nice bird's beak at the back to trap your hand in as you are using that knife. And that was a 1,000% improvement in this knife feel in hand as far as I am concerned for my personal use. Now, you may have an SE4 with the compact scales on it, and you might say to yourself, these are perfect. It feels perfect in my hand, and you know what? God bless you. If it feels perfect in your hand, it's perfect. That's just all there is to it. But for Baz on Blades, I wanted that little more hand feeling, little more to the handle scale to accommodate that extra weight, because the heavier knife and the heavier stock thickness I'm going to use for heavier tasks, and I wanted a fully hand feeling grip rather than this type of grip here. You can see this is a very compact type of grip. Now keep in mind, these knives are the exact same in the handle. The handle is exactly the same, interchangeable between these knives. And you can see how this fits in my hand, where it ends up in the palm of my hand, the butt of the knife, compared to the way these extended scales fit in my hand. And you can imagine how much of a difference that makes as far as hand feel goes. Another fantastic aspect of these TKC scales over the flat factory scales is they're not flat. Now these scales are absolutely flat. You can see here with a little bit of background to show they are absolutely flat. But these scales are not. They are three-dimensionally machined. They are palm swelled. You have a thin section here. It flares out for your palm, and then it narrows slightly at the front end. That gives you this palm swell across the thickness of the handle, as well as the natural shape does across the width of the handle. It gives it a little more feeling, as in it fills up your grip a little more than the flat scales do. It is just enough to make this knife feel completely different in the hand, even over the 3D compact scales that came on it, even though they also have this palm swell in them across the thickness as well as the width. I think probably in this configuration, the ESEE4 is the perfect balance of handiness due to a slightly more compact size over the 6 and a little more heavy duty feel and usage over the thinner stock thickness of the 3. And I think honestly, if you have a collection of fixed blade knives that you are going to use out in the field, once you start getting a collection of knives, you can start buying knives with specific usage in mind, like my ESEE3. The ESEE3, I tend to mount it on my pack strap. It's thinner, it's a lighter weight, it's compact, it's not in the way. I mount it over on the left-hand side pack strap on my chest. That way, even on the move, I have access to a fully capable fixed blade knife, but it's not so big or bulky or weighty that it's weighing me down. Then I can go with the ESEE4 on my hip. It has got some weight to it, but it's not as large as the 6. Let's take a look at that again overall. You can see it is a much smaller knife, but it's in the same blade stock thickness, so you do get the heavier duty use out of it, but you don't have the added sort of length going up and down your leg and on your waist that the 6 has. The 6, in my mind, is a little large to carry horizontal on the waist. There's nowhere on my 34-inch waist that I could carry this horizontally without it sticking out and catching everything around me, so I have to carry it vertically. When you start carrying a longer knife vertically, you have to start worrying about tying the tip of the sheath down to your leg, or it's going to be flopping around on your leg. And that really, you're getting to a point right there that, at least a Baz on Blades, it starts to become a little cumbersome. The 4 is just perfect for that, at least for me. at least for Baz on Blades. Again, if you've got one of these knives in any variation of blade steel or handle skills or whatever, and it works for you, that's fantastic. I'm not telling you that this is better than your knife. It's not better than your knife. It's just different. It's just better for me personally. And that's what I really wanted to focus on in this video. Not so much of a review for the 4 because let's face it, guys, there's probably about 16 million reviews on each one of these ESEE models already on YouTube. Guys that are out in the field, they've got 2 or 3 cameras set up. They've got all of this stuff that they've done, all this fieldcraft stuff, and I haven't done any of that with this, so I'm not going to try to throw up an in-depth review, a usage sort of thing. I just wanted to sort of focus on individualizing individual use of these knives and how the handle scales affect that. Now, the ESEE4, I'm saying it's probably right now, as far as handiness, balanced out with heavy dutiness, balanced out with weight. It's probably at this point, it's going to be my go-to for my ESEE knives. I mean, I'm not going to pull out the Hoongloss. I can't even get the Hoongloss all the way in here in the frame. And I've got the camera jacked up way up above the tabletop right now. And you can see here, I chipped the shit out of the tip of this thing. I'm so mad about that. That's a pretty deep chip right there, and it's going to take some sharpening to get that out. And the edge on this is still so good steel that it doesn't need to be sharpened. So that's a damn eyesore right there. I'm so mad at myself. I was chopping, seeing how well this thing chopped. I got the tip a little low on the opposite side of my chopping media and got into the dirt and hit a rock like a damn amateur would. I was so mad at myself about that. But anyway, back to the 4. I like it, guys. I love these scales. I love the look of them. I love the feel of them. It is just enough of a difference, just enough 3D machining to bring that knife alive in my hand. It's just enough added extra length, and with the inclusion of the bird's beak at the butt end, it's just enough to put the feeling from maybe a little too compact of a handle to just perfect for this knife. And the good thing is it was available with the G10 3D scales, so I got it that way. I was able to put those scales on my 3. I didn't have to buy another set of scales for it. All I had to do was buy this set of scales, and it's pretty reasonable. Now, the scales, they're a little pricey, guys. They're from, I think, $45 to $55. This micarta is a little more than the G10, and you don't have to have the micarta. I'm going to be honest, I got it because I love the way it looks. I don't think that it's any better or worse than the G10. They all have a surface texture on them. You can see here the 3D scales have a full surface texture as machined, and they're very grippy. They're very solid feeling, no issues there at all. I saw this micarta and I was like, yeah, that is some sexy stuff right there. And if your knife is not sexy, then you're not sexy. And being out in the middle of the woods, if you're not sexy, the bears do not want to eat your dead carcass if you die out there. Bears will not eat somebody that is not carrying a sexy knife. That is proven. Just ask any bear expert about that. There you go, guys. There you go. I know that's confusing because I'm like pulling these out. I'm like here, and then I'm like pulling this out, and then I'm putting it back, and then I got this out here, and I'm like, oh my God, and then I got this scale over here. I took this scale off, and I put this scale on, and then I took this scale off, and I moved it over here, and it's like 3-card Monty out here. It's like I'm throwing a cup and ball game on you guys. I apologize for that, but that's just the way it is. If you want to see an installation video on these scales, I can take them back off and put them back on in another video. If you want to see that, just go down in the comment section and say, Baz on Blades, you damn dumbass, you should have shown us that from the get-go. But I'm telling you guys, they come with instructions, they come with all the hardware, they come with an Allen wrench. It's pretty, but I mean, even a monkey could do it, and not really even a really smart monkey. SE4 and S35vn. We didn't even talk about S35vn. We don't need to. If you know knives, you know S35vn. A high performance stainless steel developed pretty much exclusively for cutlery, an improved in some ways version of S30vn, a very much proven premium stainless steel. And there you go, guys. The SE4 in S35vn with the knife connection extended replacement handle scales. These are in the 2-layer micarta, black and tan. Very, very good look, guys. Black canvas and tan burlap, and the feel in hand is fantastic. I really do recommend these scales for the SE4. You may even like them on your SE3, although I don't really think the lighter weight SE3 really needs them. That's up to you, and we will close out there. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch one of my videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you again.